Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to this edition of HEX Update Saturday for October 26, 2013. I'm Jake Freedom, and this week we had a lot happen in the world of HEX. First off, we had another patch deployed to all the alpha users that are currently playing, and this patch here had quite a bit of stuff involved. They had some general AI fixes. They had some issues when logging in your collection of your cards. Some people were complaining about their collection of cards were missing. So now what happens when you log in, that your collection is compared to a master list. If any are missing, they'll be replaced. Some of the images have been sharpened up. And let's see here. Another thing they fixed, you can no longer select illegal decks. That was kind of some general stuff there. Some fixes that they made to the user interface. You can now change your password from the options menu. Not sure why you couldn't do that before. They did a slight increase in rendering speed in the card manager. Keywords and their descriptions will show up on zoomed cards now. A few things they fixed in the chat. First-time users will no longer show up as a number in chat. A message is limited to 140 characters. Whispers now tell you who to whom it was sent. Chat box is now movable. And probably the biggest update that this patch had to offer was the ability to now socket gems into cards. I know that CZE had talked about it before, and they just haven't got around to it or getting it implemented yet. But they finally got it working here. So now some of the cards can now be socketed with certain gems. This here I think is going to be pretty big, and I'm curious to see what kind of decks will spawn with the socketing abilities. I have a feeling that some of them will probably be pretty powerful, and I don't know. I guess time will just tell. We'll see what happens. But to give you kind of a rundown of what some of the sockets will do, let's take for example here, Prime Blood Orb of Brutality. This is a major. Takes a blood shard, and for example, when this troop enters play, it deals damage equal to its attack to target champion. Another one here would be, let's see, Prime Diamond of Endurance. It's a major. It uses a diamond shard. When this troop enters play, your champion gains health equal to its defense. Could be pretty powerful there. Let's see another one we got here. Prime Ruby of Intensity. It's a major. It's a double socketed card. Both of them take ruby shards. And this one here, when this troop deals damage to an opposing champion, you gain 2 temporary resource points. That could be big right there, especially if you're running maybe a multicolored deck and you're low on some resources or what have you. That could be pretty powerful there. Let's see another one here. Prime Sapphire of Mind. It is also another major. It takes a double Sapphire Shard. When this troop deals damage to a champion, draw a card. That could be very useful. Very, very useful. Another one here. This one I find quite interesting. It is Prime Wild Orb of Strength. It's a major. It takes a wild shard. It means it could be anything it wants to be. When this troop enters play, target troop you control has plus attack plus defense equal to each of this troop's attack and defense this turn. I think that's gonna be a pretty good one there. See the last one here, Prime Wild Orb of Dominance. Major, takes double wild shards. When this troop deals damage to a champion, create a rhinoceros and put it into play. Now they don't say here on their website, but it's a 3/3 rhinoceros. That could be huge right there. A couple of the cards that were added. Let's see, Royal Falconeer has been added. Shamed Gladiator, his effects no longer go off. Oh, I guess this is going to be updates to cards. Sorry about that. Shamed Gladiator, his effects will no longer go off when the next card is played. Let's see here. Wild Root Dancer. Continue button is now visible when that ability is activated. And let's see here, just a couple other minor card changes there. Some changes to the champions. Nin the Shadow, charge power will now show up in a tooltip. Champion portraits now appear in the card manager. And a few new known issues is the friends section of the chat box is not yet functional. Hitting escape to concede does not work while you have priority. Spacebar plus escape will pass priority there. Now last week we talked about a post that Corey Jones himself had made, and it was kind of cryptic, and we weren't quite sure what they were talking about. He was just saying, hey, there's going to be some big news, and we'll update you later on in the week. Well, on Thursday, they finally made that update and let us all know what was happening. First of all, it's a pretty long update, and we'll just kind of start from the top and briefly go over everything here. Update, the first thing they said was they were going to let in another 3,000 people into Alpha, all the way from raid leaders, guild masters, pro players, dungeon crawlers, and collectors will now be able to join the Alpha. Again, things didn't go as smoothly as they wanted. They kind of had the same issues pop up as they did before. And so the engineers and the server teams and whatnot are kind of going through, figuring out what they need to do. So it was just kind of basically when they let the first group in, they had these issues. That the second group in, they're having kind of the same issues. Basically, I'm going to say it's coming down to just server power resource issues. Let's see here. Also, new team members that the HEX team has hired. Alan Comer. He's now going to be the senior HEX engineer. This guy here, he has some pretty impressive credentials. I read about him a little bit. He's 25 years of programming experience. Worked for Wizards of the Coast. I worked on the Magic the Gathering online version. He worked on Pokemon, a couple other trading card games too. And also, he's a big Magic the Gathering player. And he's done pretty well in his career. He's actually the 4th member of the inaugural class for Magic the Gathering. I thought that was pretty impressive there. I read, if you want to go check him out, I'll put the links in the description below, and you can read about him. Another new hire that they brought along was Tyler James. He's going to be the art director. I looked at some of this guy's work, and holy cow, I am super impressed. He's pretty good. Tyler actually worked for HEX in the past. He has designed some of the cards that were featured back in September. He said his work is super impressive. His website is www.artoffly.com. I'll put that link in the description as well. You can go check out his work. With his addition to the team, HEX should be without a doubt one of the best looking games on the market, in my personal opinion. Also, they've announced that there's going to be an apprentice program. Anybody can apply for it. CZE will take a look at your stuff, and if they offer it to you, it's a three-month paid intern. And at the end of the 3 months, if they like you, they'll say, hey, come on board. If not, they'll say, hey, thanks for your work, and hope that your training that we've provided you will help you in your future career. Also, the next big one that Corey said needed the most explaining is HEX is going worldwide. Worldwide, what does that mean? Corey states, this is the largest piece of the announcement and the element that needs the most specific explanation. HEX has partnered up with the publishing and platform companies of GameForge and Level Up. GameForge is obviously headquartered in Germany and is the leading MMO publisher for Europe with over 400 million registered players across 75 countries. Level Up has offices in the Philippines, Brazil, and Latin America. Now, these arrangements that the companies have is great. Corey stated in a post that he also mentioned that the contract that they have in place, all the decision making is still in Corey's hands. So these companies will not impact any of the decisions that CZE makes themselves for the HEX game. Another thing too is the ecosystems. The HEX is going to be kind of divided into different ecosystems in the game. Now, this one here, some people don't like, some people do like. I don't know about it yet. It might be all right. We'll see. And what I'm talking about here is I'll pull up a picture for you, and this is kind of what we're talking about. What we have here is we have these different regions. Basically, we have the U.S., Europe, Latin America, Russia, China, and the Philippines. Now, what this basically is everything's going to have its own game system, tournament servers. It's going to have its own economy, and they're kind of walled. So, for example, if you're registered in the Philippines garden, you cannot trade or do anything in the U.S. Europe garden. So it's kind of, you got walls. So all the games will have their own economy, in-game items and accounts. Will be locked there. So basically what that means, okay, since I do live in the U.S., I don't necessarily have to make an account on the U.S. Europe region. But if I were to make one in the Philippines, for example, I would be locked in there. I wouldn't be able to, make another account someplace else. So where you choose your account, that's where it'll be locked. All in-game items, are tradable within regions. They are not tradable across the garden walls. That there, I don't know about that one. A lot of people have, what do I want to say? They have doubts that's not gonna work very well, because this is, like the game suggests, it's a trading card game. So, how are we supposed to trade with other people in different regions? If we can't, all we can only trade with the people that are in our particular region. Will it work? Will it not work? I don't know. Time will only tell. No, so we'll see what happens. Let's see what else we got here. Like I said, all in-game elements are non-transferable between regions. Let's see here. So I don't know. I don't know what's your take on this here. Do you like the whole garden idea? I mean, I guess the cool thing is, is you can keep, since there are different economies, global economies, in these different regions. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, is kind of separate that out. So, like if a card pack costs $2 in the U.S. and let's say they're $4 over in the Philippines, somebody from the Philippines can't go to the U.S. and buy a card pack. I don't know what the reasoning is on it. That's going to be my speculation there. But the cool thing is that you can also, everybody has this global tournament server. So tournaments in the global tournament server will be happening 24/7, 7 days a week. So you're not going to be, if you're in a tournament on the global tournament server, you might have to play a qualifier at 4 a.m. your time. But if you have a tournament going on your regional server, they'll be more into your time frame there. So that's kind of nice, how that's going to work. Like I said, we'll see how it all plays out. Other than that, not a whole lot has happened there. The R&D team for HEX has been working on a second card set. They've given it to the QA team, and they've been playing with that for a few hours, doing what the heck do they call it? They're chaining through the PvE dungeons. They said it's going pretty well, so I'm guessing that we're going to get another second set of cards in the next patch, hopefully. I could be wrong. You never know. We'll see what happens there. Other than that, that's about all we have for this week here. So if you like, go ahead and click subscribe below, and I'll have another video for you soon. Thanks for watching.